everybody, my name's Deborah Kirby and I'm an interior designer and I live in Nottingham. My little business is called Fabulous Rooms. Today I'd like to discuss with you your preferences. Do you like covering your walls with paint, or are you a wallpaper kind of person? Is it going to be paint or is it going to be wallpaper? And I know a lot of you are going to have very, very extreme views on this, believe you me. So a little bit of history to start with. Did you know that wallpaper was invented about 6,000 years ago by the ancient Egyptians? And it was the Chinese that started using it in 200 BC. So it's been around for quite a while, hasn't it? But interestingly enough, wallpaper fell out of favour up until about 10 or 15 years ago. So from about 2000 onwards, year 2000 onwards, it was completely not fashionable. People were covering their walls with something called anaglypta wallpaper or wood chip wallpaper, which was sort of relief wallpaper that you could paint over and over again. A lot of people have still got it and swear by it because it is quite handy actually. But anyway, I'm not particularly a fan of anaglypta wallpaper. This is just a little story about wallpaper and how wallpaper has become so fashionable now. About 10 years ago, I was doing a little stint on BBC Radio. I was their guest interior designer and they wanted me to go in and talk about the latest fashions in interior design, you know, that sort of thing. I mean, talking about interior design on the radio, I could never really understand it. But anyway, I went along with it, you know, for the sort of publicity. Anyway, at the time, these kind of wallpapers were coming very, very fashionable. Wallpapers with, you know, oversized prints on them. Big graphic prints on them were becoming very, very fashionable. So I took some along with me to the studio and discussed them with the presenter and the other guests on the show. People were appalled. They couldn't believe that this kind of oversized graphic prints, oversized floral prints were going to be, you know, we were going to be plastering our walls with it, because up until about 10 years ago, we were just happy to paint our walls or paint anaglypta or wood chip paper. Okay, everything was quite plain. Okay, it had been for about 20 years. So I don't know whether it was because wallpaper manufacturers wanted to start selling more wallpaper, but suddenly the market was filled with these sort of vibrant patterned wallpapers. And a lot of people became a bit sort of scared by this stuff. So then people started having what's called a feature wall. Now, I'm sure you've all heard of feature walls, where you just decorate one wall with, you know, one exciting wallpaper and then leave the other walls quite plain, okay? And feature walls have been around for, oh God, a long time now. 15 years, 10 years I've been doing feature walls for people, and they show no sign of going away. Everybody loves a feature wall still. I don't know why. People maybe aren't quite brave enough to do all their rooms in, you know, a sort of really you know, bold pattern, but they will go for one wall with a feature wallpaper. So have you got feature wallpapers in your house? You know, what sort of patterns do you like? Or are you a person that prefers paint? Now, some people don't want the faff of hanging wallpaper, do they? Because you've got to line the walls first if your walls are a bit uneven, fill in the cracks, and then you've got to paper the walls and match it all up properly, and often you have to get a decorator in to do it, which costs more money. So it can be quite expensive, you know, having wallpaper. Easy to cover your walls in paint, you know, in an afternoon, a trip to the DIY store, you know, and you've got it sussed, haven't you? And people often do a feature wall in a particular colour, don't they? That's still very fashionable as well. People were doing, you know, one sort of terracotta wall. I know that in here I had one terracotta wall and then the other walls were sort of a yellow colour. That was quite a while ago now. I mean, now they're kind of grey and soon not to be grey, I can tell you. Fallen out of love with grey. Click here to see my video on grey versus the new warm, earthy tones. As you know, I'm an interior designer, and often when I go and see clients, they're not really sure whether they want to go with wallpaper or paint. So, you know, to be fair, I do give them both options always. What I always do is I might show them, you know, a bright, you know, patterned wallpaper, and then say, but if this is too much for you, but you like the colour, we can do a plain colour, you know, just in, say, the pink, or just in, say, the blue, that sort of thing, or you know, or the pale blue. So, you know, I don't, as an interior designer, I don't force wallpaper onto people. Okay. Now there are thousands and thousands of wallpapers out there, you know, to choose from. And which one do you choose to go with your room? Well, I think the best thing is to choose the one that, you know, really stands out to you that you actually fall in love with? You know, really, really love a wallpaper before you actually take the commitment to hang it on the wall. And wallpapers do vary in price as well. But some of my customers, they'll be spending £60 or £70 on a roll of wallpaper. Equally, you can go to the local home store and you can get wallpapers for £20 or, you know, $30 a roll, that sort of thing. It's very easy to sort of, you know. And what's really interesting is that the big wallpaper companies will make, you know, lovely wallpaper, lovely designer wallpaper for sort of £60 a roll or $70 or $80 a roll. And then the DIY stores, the B&Q, Home Depot, Homebase and all that, will do a sort of a cheap copy of it. I'm often surprised when, you know, I've found a beautiful wallpaper for somebody and it's unique and expensive and it's lovely, and then I go into my local B&Q and there's a sort of a cheap version of it. You know, maybe the paper quality is not quite as nice or the colours aren't quite as rich, but you know, whatever, you can pay as much or as little as you want for wallpaper. Now you may be wondering, you know, here I am, interior designer, promoting wallpapers, but if you look around my house, I haven't got a single scrap of wallpaper. And the reason is that I can never decide which wallpaper to put on my walls. Every month there are new wallpapers coming onto the market, and every month or so, or every 6 months, I see a new wallpaper. I go, oh, that's just the most amazing wallpaper in the world. It's just so beautiful. But then a few months later, I see one that I like even more, and so it goes on. I'm never sort of, I'd be changing my wallpaper every 2 months as an interior designer. One thing about being an interior designer, the downside of being an interior designer, is that although, okay, it's the best job in the world and all that, because I'm continually looking at interior design magazines, the latest trends, the DIY shows on TV, I can never be satisfied with my own home, because I always think, well, it could be like that, it could be like that. You know, you're never satisfied because you always know that it could be a lot more beautiful. So that's the downside of becoming an interior designer, is you can never be satisfied with your own home space, your own home. Very annoying. So let's talk about wallpapers in a bit more detail. Supposing you've chosen a beautiful wallpaper, supposing you've chosen, let's say, for example, let's say this wallpaper, okay? Maybe you've chosen that wallpaper, okay? I've just randomly picked a wallpaper, and this has got beautiful turquoises, it's got navy, it's got gold. So what do you do with the rest of the room if you've chosen a sort of a bold wallpaper like that? Well, your lighting and your sort of fittings, you could pick out the gold, so you could go for gold lightings and fittings if you wish. You could pick out navy blue cushions and turquoise cushions on your sofas, which could be a neutral shade. They could be grey or they could be, you know, a neutral colour. You could go navy blue velvet sofa on there. If you've got a highly patterned wallpaper like that, you know, think about whether your curtaining should be highly patterned as well. You might want to pick out a more plain shade, or maybe a geometric shade to go, a geometric pattern to go with that. You know, it is okay to mix up pattern, but if you're mixing up pattern, be sure to mix up pattern of different sizes. So if you've got a big bold pattern like that, okay, and you want to put another pattern with it, you could perhaps choose a smaller pattern to go with that. And I'm trying to find an example here amongst this little array of example. You could put a smaller pattern to go with it. I haven't got an example here. Or you could put a sort of a stripe with it, perhaps. Yeah, a thin stripe with it, okay? So the key thing is if you're mixing pattern, is to go with one large pattern, maybe a medium pattern or a small pattern to contrast with it, and you could actually put a stripe and some plain fabric or walls as well, okay? But by mixing patterns of the same size, it kind of jars the eye. It doesn't kind of work so well. And I'm sure a lot of you will actually be sending me messages saying, I disagree with you, my lounge looks great and I've got all this mixture of pattern. I mean, perhaps you're going for that eclectic look where you are sort of mixing a lot of patterns, but yeah. So my overall conclusion as to, you know, paint or wallpapers is when you're considering, you know, decorating your house, a lot of people do just dismiss wallpaper. Oh, I don't want wallpaper, I'm going to go for paint, every time. But do have a look at your wallpapers, because you might be pleasantly surprised by what you see. And you don't have to have wallpaper on every single wall. You know, you could just have it on a feature wall, or just have it below your picture rail if you live in an older house, or just below your dado rail if you've got that architectural feature in your home as well. And then whatever wallpaper you choose, pick out the colours from that wallpaper to decorate the rest of the room. So what do you think? Do you prefer paint or do you prefer wallpaper? Do let me know, because I'm fascinated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.